welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about cost-saving resources to help you learn medical billing and coding. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, so this comment came in and I'm going to read the comment and then we're going to get into it, so here we go. So the viewer says, Blue, do you know if there are any free courses out there like a refresher in medical coding? This person has not studied medical coding, okay, I'm just saying. I like a website with a mock environment where you can learn different scenarios of coding, diagnosis, etc. I've been doing my research on different schools, and you're right, these businesses want my money and want to stick me with more than I actually need. I've seen some videos out there on coding, but not like what I'm looking for. I'll just continue to do more research. There's got to be something out there. Anyway, thank you. So here's the thing, guys. I have always said that when it comes to medical billing and coding, and if you want to learn on your own, it's just going to take a little bit of self-drive and some research, and that's how you're going to be able to get there. I personally get irritated when I see comments like this because of the simple fact that my channel has dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of videos on free resources and where to go and what to look at. But if it's not what you're looking for, then people are just like, oh no, it's not there, it's not there. And then not following directions. Like when I say to get the ICD-10 PCS, if you're going to study for like the CCS or the CCA, and I say if you're going to go to Optum and get the ICD-10 PCS book, that the one to get is a spiral bound version. Don't get the flat edge version, because a flat edge version does not have the appendix M that has all of the procedures to look up. And so the spiral bound version does. And I even say it, even in the description box, it literally says next to it, the spiral bound version. I tell you guys these things and I'm very detailed, and a lot of you just don't seem to see those things. So when I suggest these things and you don't follow them, you know, and so I got a comment from somebody else who said, well, I ordered that book like you said, and it didn't have Appendix M in it because you ordered the flat edge book. Okay, there's a difference in what book covers what. Okay, and looking at the Optum website today, and today is January 28th, 2024, they still have the 2023 editions on sale. So if you want to start learning medical billing and coding, and you are on a tight budget, and maybe you have a few $100s that you can spend to learn this, here's the thing, guys. This website, Optum, is the books that I recommend. Now, the books that you have to have when you go to the test site, depending on how long you're going to take to study. So if you're studying this month in January, and let's just say you are going to give yourself to about December or January of next year to take your exam, that means you have all of that time to save your money to get the current year books. But to learn it, you can learn this from the 2023 editions, because the 2023 editions are going to cover all of your codes and things like that. So if you have the coding manuals for ICD-10-CM, and I'll get to CPT in a minute, but HCPCS, if you have those that are the 2023 editions, you can get them here from the Optum website, and I am looking at it right now. The 2024 editions are 40% off, but the 2023 editions are 80% off. So when you get it for that price, right, the ICD-10-CM Expert for Physicians, that's the ICD-10-CM version that I recommend. The 2023 edition is $22.99, and that's free shipping. That's a brand new book, 2023 edition, that you can learn from right now, so that way you can just practice with that book, okay? It'll be a brand new book. You'll get your fresh new book, okay? And not only that, the thing about the ICD-10-CM book is that it has scenarios before every single chapter. Every single chapter starts off with the guidelines, and it gives examples of the guidelines throughout the book. So what I have recommended is covering up those answers and the rationale and focus on the question answer the question by looking up in the book, and then look at the book again, because it'll tell you what the answers and the rationale is. You're learning that way. And if you say, well, that's not whole notes, that's just one question here, one question there, because they're little scenarios like that. And so if you say, well, that's not good enough, that's, guys, if you can't even do that, if you can't even look up simple scenario things before you start diving into these big notes, you're going to get the stuff wrong when you see the big notes. Practicing with the smaller stuff first helps you to build that muscle memory, helps you to build your skill when it comes to looking up stuff in the book. So get the ICD-10-CM book if you want to study medical billing and coding, you don't have a lot of money, you're trying to do it on your own, buy it for $22.99, the 2023 edition. And so that way you can practice looking up codes in the book. Because what happens a lot of times is people think that they need to automatically start coding from big notes. Again, if you don't know how to look up basic things and you don't know the guidelines, or you don't understand the guidelines first and how they work, because it's not just looking up codes. It actually involves going through and recalling the guidelines, because sometimes the guidelines will have direction on sequencing and what codes to pick up from which sections at certain scenarios. And if you're reading your coding guidelines, which the coding guidelines are published on the CMS website for free, all you have to do is just Google ICD-10-CM Official Coding Guidelines 2024. You can start reading those now, and then you can go through and just listen to them, because you can listen to them on your computer, and then you can, or you can read them, you can print them out. If you print them out, it's like 120 some odd pages, but it's just a font size. It is the same guidelines that's in the book, okay? Because the book is like, and the Optum book is like 34 pages it comes out to. But you have to keep in mind, these are double columns. It's the font size, it's different and everything. So that's why it's, looks compressed compared to what's on the internet. But you have to read those coding guidelines in their entirety once per week. So that way you can start building your foundational knowledge when it comes to the guidelines. You're not trying to memorize the guidelines, folks. But what you are trying to do is you are trying to get that foundation there. And reading the coding guidelines in their entirety once per week, or listening to them, is going to help get you on that road to success. Because you do not have to go through a formal program in order to sit for any of the 4 main medical coding certifications: the CCS, the gold standard of medical coding credentials, the CCA, the CCSP, or the CPC. So with that said, order the ICD-10-CM expert for physicians. Now, I will say this. Both associations, AHIMA or AAPC, do require you to have the CPT Professional Edition by the AMA. And looking at it right here, even the 2023 edition is $134, only because the publisher is the AMA. And they're not going to give a discount very, very much, okay? Because even the 2024 edition is $134.95. Now, if you say to me, well, Blue, I can't really afford that. So there's an alternative, but you have to remember that you are just using this book to practice with. You cannot use this book that I'm going to suggest to you as an alternative to that CPT Professional Edition by the AMA. This is just an alternative. Let me say this again. It is just an alternative to the CPT AMA edition. The current procedural coding expert is the CPT, but it's Optum's version. Now, you cannot use this to take your test, but you can use it to practice with, because the 2023 edition, the expert spiral bound, is $21.79. So again, if you're trying to save yourself some money, right now you've only spent $45 for those 2 books. $45 for those 2 books, just to learn on. And that current procedural coding expert, it just has extra information in it. That's all. And it has more information about like the global periods and things like that the CPT Professional Edition by the AMA does not have. Okay, So you can still use it. It's just something for you to practice on. But eventually you will need to get the CPT professional edition by the AMA, because that's the one you have to have when you're taking your test, okay? And that's either through a HEMA or AAPC, okay? But again, this is just something for you to practice with. Now, right next to it, there's the HCPCS Level 2 Expert Spiral Bound, okay? Now, the 2023 edition of the HCPCS book is $20.99. 3 books, okay? 3 books to learn on. And the HCPCS book is just you'll see it's very basic, it's very small, and it's got all of your durable medical equipment in it, and it's got all of these other things that they have for like services for like Medicare. Excuse me, they have their they have their G codes for the colonoscopies that are in there, and you can just look at that. A lot of people tend to panic when they see the HCPCS book, but once you've learned ICD-10-CM and once you've learned how to look up codes in CPT, the HCPCS book is nothing, guys. It really is nothing, okay? It's very easy. The format is the same. Look things up in the index, and then you go to the tabular section, okay? Now, the last one, if you are taking the CCS or the CCA, or if you're studying for the CIC, okay, if you're wanting to stay with AAPC, okay, the 2023 ICD-10 PCS Expert Spiral Bound, the Spiral Bound version, is $22.99, okay? So that's for the 2023 editions. So that you can use to practice with. In that book, in the Spiral Bound ICD-10 PCS book, there is an appendix in the back, Appendix M, and it has 388 procedures. Not only that, it also has the answer key as well. So you take the time and you practice with that book as well, looking up the procedure codes. Because if you're not able to look up the procedure codes and you try to go immediately into the big notes, it's going to cause you to get confused. You're not going to know where to go, and there's going to be a lot of things that you're not going to look up correctly because, again, you didn't get your foundational start where you're looking up single line things, and then you build up into those scenarios, okay? Now, I have already said all the places before on other videos, but I'm going to say it again because, I don't know, I feel like my messages just don't reach anymore, guys. I have no idea what's going on, because I think I'm fairly clear on all of these things, and then I'll get some feedback, like when I recommend justcoding.com. Justcoding.com has a free version, and they have a paid version. Now, if you get the paid version, it's going to give you access to all kinds of resources and things like that, and things that you as a student really kind of don't need right now. They also have the free version of that membership. And that free version of that membership for justcoding.com is that they have 5-question coding quizzes that covers ICD-10-CM, CPT, and ICD-10 PCS procedures. So when you sign up for the free version of the membership, you get access to all of those. And it is hundreds and hundreds of things to look up. Now, here's the kicker part, guys, and which is what makes it so difficult to share free resources, because you always get feedback from ungrateful people. And I've heard people say, well, Blue, those were really easy. Okay, if you're looking at the multiple choice answers and you're just picking from there, then yeah, it will be easy. However, if you use a little bit of ingenuity and you cover up those answers and you challenge yourself to look the code up in the book by yourself and see what you get, that might give you a little bit better practice, right? So that's just something that is an option out there for you. It is free. You can sign up for it at any time, okay? I get no affiliation with Just Coding, but I really love their products, okay? They have a lot of really great books. Their books are more expensive though. Codingbooks.com is where you can find their books, but I love their books, but again, they're a little bit more pricey. So if you're trying to do this on a budget, you want to stick with the Optum books, okay? So that way you can order those and you can start looking through those books and practicing, because trust me, you can get plenty of coding practice just from the books alone. And then you want to, through all of those books, you want to look at the notes that are included throughout the book, because that's what Optum does. And Optum is fantastic for that. Now, I am not a representative of Optum, but I love Optum. And that is the number one book that I see next to the codingbooks.com books, the HC Pro books. Oh my gosh, those are amazing. I love those. Okay. But again, a little bit more pricey, but worth it. Okay. I will say that. Now, so there's adjust coding. There's, working with the books themselves. Now let's talk about the public library. So at the public library, there's a lot of resources there, and it is free. You can go in, you can check out for free books on workbooks, on anatomy, medical terminology, pathophysiology. All of these things, all of these books are available at the public library. Not only that, you may get lucky, and if you live in a bigger city, which is possible, right? That they will have actually coding books that you can work with, coding workbooks that you can work with. Now, the coding workbook that I recommend is the ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS Coding Handbook with the Answers by Nellie Leon Chizen. That link is in the description box below. If you ask me, oh, where is the link? What book do you recommend? I will block you. I will. And you know why, guys? Because I keep saying that it's in the description box, and I still get that question. And I'm like, you can't be serious. I just said it's in the description box. So guys, all of those links are in the description box. I cannot ask you enough to please check out the description box, okay? So when you do this and you look and you go through this ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS Coding Handbook with the Answers. Now let's just say you are sitting for an outpatient coding exam, like the CPC or the CCSP. Neither one of these will ask you any questions about ICD-10-PCS, okay? Because nothing of inpatient is covered on those two exams. So nothing about present on admission indicators, nothing about DRGs, nothing about none of that topics, right? But when you use that book and just say you're studying for the CPC or the CCSP, you can just go to the ICD-10-CM questions in that book and the scenarios that cover the ICD-10-CM part, and you can work with those. Just because you're not studying for PCS does not mean that you cannot use that book, okay? That's all I'm saying on that one. And it is cost saving. However, people blame me because they say, Bleu, that book is $100, like last time I saw it was $134, okay? That was the cheapest I could find for that ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS Coding Handbook with the Answers by Nellie Leon Chizen. Now, again, I'm not affiliated with that, and whether you choose to go with it or not is up to you. But to me, that's the best book to learn from. And when you are looking for that book and you see that it's really expensive, try the public library in your area and see if they have it. Okay. And if they have it, then you just saved yourself $130 some odd, okay? Because before it was $39. And when I started suggesting it, people started blaming me because they said, oh, Bleu, now because of you, the cost of that book went up. The book is really excellent. And I'm always going to recommend things that are going to be helpful for coders. Okay. So check the public library, see if they have it. So that way you can start working with that book. And hopefully being on a time limit with that book, depending on how long they let you check out the books in that area, that would be great, because then that way you can continue to just work with the book, and then it will force you to have to be constantly on that book when you've checked it out. Okay, right? So, and here's the other thing too. If you decide to get that book, the Nellie book, the ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS Coding Handbook with the Answers, and let's just say, because I've been asked before too, they say, well, Bleu, you suggested the 2020 version of this book. That was years ago. And I have said many times, you can get the current yearbook, but I try to recommend the ones that are maybe a year or 2 years old. And of course, I have over 1,200 videos on the channel, guys. and I've tried to go back and update them and keep them new and current, but I can't always do that. But I do require y'all to use a little common sense. If that book is not available, go to the next year book. Go to the 2021 version or the 2022 version. Somebody said, oh, well, I was looking for the 2022 version and they don't have it. Okay, then the 2023 version, honey. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, you know? And so there may be some differences in the codes from your book if you're using a 2023 edition and you're working with a 2021 edition book, okay? A workbook that's from 2021 or maybe even 2020, and you're using a 2023 code set books, right? The code may be different. There may be a code that you look up, and then when you look in the answer key of your workbook, they may say it's a different code. Well, if you look up that different code in your current book and you don't see it, then you know that that code was updated. But that's going to be almost few and far in between, because 85 to 90% of the year previous version books is going to be the same as the current year, okay? The current year will have some updated things in it, but again, as long as I tell people try not to go back so far back. Like 2021 is pretty good, okay? Even if you get a 2020, that's fine. But 2021 is a good going back, okay? Because 2021, 2022, 2023. You have 3 years previous that you can go back and try to see if there's a version of that one and it's a cheaper book or it's more reasonable. Or again, like I said, take those titles, go to the public library so that way you can see if they have it, okay? And that's just for learning ICD-10-CM or ICD-10-PCS. Now, if you're learning the CPT portion, okay, I don't show it because it's right back there. You can see it on the top. It's a blue book. I'm not going to show it because every time I show it and it's backwards, I always get complaints and I don't want to hear it, guys. I really don't. And before you say, well, Blue, that's no. It's my phone. It's my phone. And I'm not tech savvy. So what are you going to do? You know? Now, the CPC study guide, even if you are studying for an HEMA exam, the CCS, CCA, or CCSP, you can still use the CPC study guide. And the thing about that book is that AAPC did get that book right, because when it comes to explaining CPT, current procedural terminology, it is very good in the fact that they have good size scenarios throughout the book. It breaks it down very well. Now, there's some of those scenarios I disagree with, but for the most part, it is really good. It's put together in a straightforward manner. Now, there's other workbooks out there, but I don't recommend them. Bucks, I do not recommend. If you've been on my channel for more than 5 minutes, you know how I feel about that book. It's just, I feel like it's written in an advanced way that people who have experience are going to understand it, but people who are brand new are going to struggle. These 2 books, the Nelly book and the CPC study guide, are the ones that I feel are more straightforward and right to the point. Now, I will say this also. I heard that the 2024 for the CPC study guide is not in print, that it's only digital. And I don't know if that's the same case for the 2023 version. I don't know if anybody has a physical copy of the 2023 version, but I know at least in the 2022 version that physical copy exists. So if it doesn't, and again, you find yourself going back a few years just to find a physical copy of the CPC study guide, that's okay. And again, you're going to look at those codes and see if anything matches up. And if it doesn't, then you know that if the answer key has a code and it's not in your book, you know that it was updated. Okay, so that's just the best way to practice. Now, I will give one more last push for my Patreon channel. My Patreon channel is, the minimum pledge is $10 per month. You get access to the hundreds of quizzes and puzzles and games that I have posted. Not only that, we have a once a month live study hall if you pledge $10 and above. Now, you don't have to pledge past a month, and these charges are done monthly, okay? There's also a deal if you sign up for a whole year and you pay for a year in advance. So you can check out my Patreon website, patreon.com/medicalcodingwithbleu. The link is also in the description box below. But you have access to all of those things, and I always post all of the resources and everything that I find on Patreon, because when I've tried to do it here before, again, I get those ungrateful people. And you have one person that's ungrateful, it's just enough to like, no, I don't have to do this, because I have tried to do demonstrations before on coding and it just did not receive good feedback. And then I got people that were not watching it at all. So I was just like, okay, you know, I'll just leave it for my Patreons, you know. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But yes, that is there. And the funds that are raised from Patreon go to furthering my education. So you're doing something good and you're learning. And plus you get access to all those quizzes and everything. So I'm just saying, I think it's a good deal. So anyway, but yes, those are some cost saving tips that I have for learning medical billing and coding. You have to do your research. There's a lot of things that you can find out there on the internet when it comes to, if you want to find scenarios to look at and things, by all means, guys, you have to do your research, because no one is going to spoon feed you these things, and no one's going to teach you for free without something in return. Either you're having to give your time so that you listen or something. Everything comes for a cost, okay? And if you go to one of these, like the WIOA program, and let's just say that they are training you for another credential that I did not mention, that I do not want to mention because that credential irritates me because it's just more of a certificate. You can use what they trained you at the school and supplement with the books that I've just recommended, so that way you can study on your own to learn medical billing and coding. You don't have to be, you know, just tied to that certificate because that's all what they trained you for. As long as you get your basics, your medical terminology, your anatomy and pathophysiology, because you have to learn those, okay? You have to learn pharma as well. And then studying on your own, getting the practice with the books, going to CMS and reading those what is it, the Medicare Learning Network. Again, all these things that you can Google. But if you are on my Patreon channel, I've shared these links before. I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you so much for joining me. Best of luck to you with your studies. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.